Hey guys, Savage Joy with Real Progressives. Tonight I am joined by Linsey Fagen. She is a Justice Dem running for US Congress in Texas, District 26. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, Linsey. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be on. I've watched you guys do some interviews in the past, and I'm just happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. So what initially inspired you to run? What was the determining factor?
Yeah, I think just like a lot of people right now, the instability, the chaos, the feeling of our representatives no longer representing us, but corporate donors, and people that aren't like me and my neighbors. I have a little girl, and so I finally got to the point where I just felt really uncomfortable with the direction the country was going in. I have a good job and a good life, and never had any intention of running for office. But I think that if we want the country to move in the direction that we all want it to move in, good people have to start running, and maybe people who didn't have any political aspirations, but people who are just good people, and who are really, really only interested in running for one reason, and that is to represent our constituents. And we don't really have a lot of representatives doing that now. So I figured
True, unfortunately. Yeah.
I just had to become the representative I wanted, I guess.
Right. And we also saw, a woman being propped up who's not the best example of who would set the best precedent as a woman in power. So it's nice to see progressive women coming forward to, be able to actually try and step up and have some good qualifications with it. We were talking a few minutes earlier, and you stated you were a Bernie delegate. So that's exciting. How did all that come about? Were you politically active before Bernie's campaign started?
No, I was. So back when I was a poor waitress, I donated money to Barack Obama, and I was a really big fan of his. Turns out I'm still a big fan of his. I don't like a little bit of what he did with drones, and there's a few things I disagree with, right? But I've been a lifelong Democrat, but I've never really been active. Last year, I got involved in the Bernie Sanders campaign. I did phone banking, and I went to the state convention as a Bernie delegate. And I think for me, in a lot of ways, I felt I think like many progressives do, like maybe there wasn't a place for me in the party as somebody who was adamantly against the corporate money, right? There's a lot of us like that. And I think that, for me, I got to the point where I felt like, well, if I don't see anybody that looks like me running, or anybody who is really, really dedicated to getting rid of the dark money before anything else, the only person at this point I trust that would be in Congress is, myself and maybe a handful of others. But I think I have to be the representative that I want myself. And as much as politics isn't the place I wanted to end up, I think that my heart tells me that this is the place that I really need to be right now. So here I am. So yeah, I got involved with Bernie's campaign. I was obviously just a super fan, and I just love a lot of his ideas, and also his way of being incredibly progressive, but not steamrolling over conservative ideals, right? Really just trying to be pragmatic and get legislation passed that is, what the American people need. And so that's what I try to do.
Absolutely. So that being said, there was never really any kind of question that you would run Dem. Even, after, the election fraud, everything like that, you still said, I'm going to run as Dem, not independent or what have you.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, I mean, there is that, how do I run? Do I run independent? Do I run Democrat? But I've been a Democrat, I mean, since the day I turned 18. I got pregnant when I was 18 years old. I relied on programs developed by the Democratic Party, like for our formula, like Medicaid for my daughter's insurance. And so I owe a lot to the Democratic Party. And so as much as there are times that there are things I really disagree on, I really think that the Democratic Party should be, I guess the representatives within the Democratic Party should reject a lot of the money that they do take. I think that the only way we're going to change that is if people in both parties start running and saying no to that kind of money. And I really hope to see, where I see it a lot on the Democratic side, people rejecting PAC money, people rejecting corporate PAC money. I really would like to see it expand to the Republican side as well, which we do see. I have a lot of candidates running with me in brand new Congress that are progressive Republicans that are rejecting that money. And so I think that we really need people on both sides to reject the dark money. And we need people in office that are really dedicated to that goal, because nothing will get fixed until we have representatives in there that are really committed to it. And I really see a lot of people like that running right now, where there's nothing in it for us. There's nothing in it for me to run. The only thing in it for me is to get in, to fix what I need to fix, and to just work for my constituents. And that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was fortunate enough to interview Congressman Ro Khanna, and he's awesome. And why the hell he came on my show, I don't know, but I wasn't going to say no.
He's great.
Apparently he wants to come back. But he was talking about how he started a new bill in Congress where they take no money whatsoever from, super PACs or anything. And he presented it to Congress, which has more than 6 Democrats, but there are only 6 who signed. Mm-hmm. So that just kind of gives you an idea of the, difference in numbers of who is willing to say, I won't take that money. And I think that's another thing that Byrne did for us. He, even those who like to consider ourselves like reasonably intelligent, I don't think a lot of us understood just how much money had to do with who gets to run, who wins, all those things. So yeah, you're right that it's one of the hugest problems. What would you do differently than the person who's currently in your position?
That's a good question.
That's probably a 5-hour episode.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing that we see in representatives now is they only represent the people in their parties, right? Where I think that representatives are intended to listen to everyone that comes to their office, everyone that emails them, everyone that calls them. And as much as I think people on both sides I want my representative to only listen to me. I want my representative, if I'm a Democrat, to only listen to these ideas. But I think as a representative, it's your job to, even if you really disagree with someone, to at least listen to them and to try to come up with solutions that make, the people in your district happy. And I think that if we had representatives that didn't take money from places that they shouldn't, that did only work for the people in their districts, there's so many common sense solutions that are out there and that are right at our fingertips, but we don't have representatives fighting for them because, let's say, pharmaceutical care, right? People on the Republicans want cheaper pharmaceutical drugs, and so do Democrats. So why is nothing happening? Well, the pharmaceutical industry pours money into both sides. And so that's where, if we really start fighting for this, if we all really get in there and we start fighting to get this money out, so many more things can happen. Once we get the money out and we can start making pragmatic, reasonable progress towards things. And so my biggest focus is on eliminating corruption any way I can. And I'm open to every single idea that comes my way on ways to do that. And I think a lot of it comes to educating the people in your district to what to look for, who's taking money from where. But then also, looking to pass a constitutional amendment that allows the states to regulate this money coming in and out. And I think that we have to elect people on both sides who are really willing to give the government back to the American people where it belongs.
Some people are commenting exactly my thoughts. I don't know that the Democrats really want us to have cheaper medication. Byrne drafted that legislation. We had people like, Cory Booker, who is like the fakest pseudo quasi progressive, signed against it. And then there was that list of all the Democrats who accepted, hundreds of thousands and, big pharma money. I work in healthcare. That's what I do as a career. So that is such a huge concern to me because I work with people on Medicare and things like that. So, seeing Democrats, especially who aren't standing up and fighting for those things, especially because it's putting money in their pocket. And that's why that's something that, Medicare for all and prescriptions, that's going to be probably a litmus test to a lot of people in 2018 and 2020.
Yeah.
Now, Texas is an open primary, correct?
Yes.
Oh, you're so lucky.
Yeah.
I'm in Pennsylvania. We are not that lucky.
It's a shame. I think one of the problems I have is just anything that's put in place to prevent real democracy from taking place is incredibly unfortunate. And I think that there should be protections for people like you that, you are independent and you do want your voice heard if you want to vote in one primary or the other. We should have open primaries in every state. And for me, looking at it, it seems almost unconstitutional to have anything outside of that.
I absolutely agree. We saw what happened in 2016 in California, just for instance. Over 3 million ballots found in boxes. I think most of them were for Bernie, but over 3 million of them in boxes because they were handed ones that said no party preference, which didn't count. And then you have, people who are being switched without requesting it themselves, being switched parties. You have New York, who you have to switch registration in October, even though you don't vote until like May or June. It's incredible, all the things that are in place to stifle, the American voters, and also, people of color having to show ID, things like this, and it's all put in place for a reason. We need to fight that for sure. Paper ballots, video recorded, it's a shame, but we definitely need to go to that point. So being that you do have open primaries, do you also speak to people in different parties? Do you kind of focus on Democrats, or do you talk to Greens and Independents?
Yeah, so my team is really, I would say, well-rounded. We have libertarians on the team. We have, Green people who voted for Jill Stein on the team. We have everyone, right? We have Republicans on the team. We have people who voted for Trump on the team. And I think what people are really looking for, and what my supporters tell me, is where there are things that I don't see eye to eye with you on, I still know that at the end of the day, you are honest, you will tell it like it is, and you are looking out for me and my family. So where we don't see eye to eye, I know that there's nobody that's going to work harder for me and my family. And I think that we have to start working to get more representatives like that elected, where no matter what, I'm looking out for you, I'm looking out for your family, and I'm not looking out for this segment of people more than this segment of people. I'm really here to help everyone, and just a regular middle-class American working to represent regular middle-class Americans. And we've gotten so far away from that. So right now, whenever we go door to door, because we do have a primary and it's coming up in about a month and a half, we do target Democrats door to door. But after the primary, that universe will expand greatly. I hope that, I'm all over the place. I'm all over the place at events. And I hope that the people outside of my party know that, if anything, I would listen to them just as much as anyone in my own party, if not more, because there are good people everywhere. And I don't think good people only live in one party. I think good people live in all the parties. And so I'm just a good person wanting to represent good people.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's about people, not party. And that's so important to make people feel like, you're going to represent everyone, regardless if, I'm a Dem exit, I'm independent, but, I like when Democrats actually say they care about me too. Because you're elected, it's we the people, not we the Dems or what have you. Yeah. Sometimes it kind of seems that way, but are people politically active where you live, like in your town?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who for a long time were under the impression that they were the only Democrat on their block, right? But as we've seen, as we've gotten out and we've had these groups grow organically in this area, people can see, oh, I thought that I was the only Democrat on my block, when really there's a lot more Democrats here than people really know of, because a lot of us, where for a long time we felt like, oh, I'm the only crazy liberal on the block. Now we see these groups grow and all of these people are coming together. And not only that, I think a lot of compassionate and moderate Republicans, they know that there's no home for them in the Republican Party anymore. And so those people are coming out and saying, that party's no longer my home. The homophobia and everything else, like these, and xenophobia, like this place is no longer my home. And I think as Democrats, independents, as anyone outside of the Republican Party, we have to welcome those people and say, maybe we don't see eye to eye on everything, but maybe you're a little bit more conservative than me here. I still want to make sure that the Democratic Party feels like a space that is home to you. And so I know that there are not all Democrats are like me. I know that there's a lot of Democrats who they want to pick apart everything that they possibly can. But for me, any supporters that come to me, I welcome them with open arms. And I don't think it's required for me to see eye to eye with someone for me to have an incredible amount of respect for them and to make sure that I listen to them and I love and support their family.
Absolutely. What is the number you want to take care of as soon as you would get elected? Your biggest passion? that you want to start working on ASAP?
There's a couple things. So eliminating corruption, that would require quite a majority in the House and the Senate for a constitutional amendment. If that wasn't available right out the gate, there's a lot of things I want to do for medically fragile children. I think that right now, the system we have before Medicare for All is put in place, we don't have a lot of support around the caretakers for medically fragile children or medically fragile children themselves. So I'm incredibly passionate about making sure that we take care of medically fragile children and their families. Veterans is another really, I guess veterans hold a very special place in my heart. I have a major passion for veteran care, specifically mental health care, and taking care of veterans once they get home the best we can. I think we spend a lot of money sending them to war, and we don't spend enough effort and time and money training them how to come home. And so making sure that our veterans are taken care of is another big priority. Medicare for All, obviously, is something I violently would run towards, because when I go door to door and talk to people, a lot of families are in a lot of bad shape because our healthcare system is completely broken. I think the ACA did a lot of things to protect our most vulnerable, but it was a first step, and we need to take a lot more steps. And I'm a really big fan of Bernie's Senate Bill 1804. I really like his Medicare for All bill with the 4-year rollout. I would love to see something like that passed. And so I would be happy to co-sponsor something like HR 676 or anything that really pushed for a Medicare for All program and making sure that people are taken care of adequately with healthcare. So, but there's a lot of things that I think I would be incredibly inclined to do. And I think just taking care of the people that need me the most would be my first priority.
Right. Absolutely. Let's see. There's, and I notice this more and more each day, and I know everyone else pretty much does. What can we do about the huge divide between the Dems and the progressives? It used to be Dems are good, Republicans are bad. And lately it's like, people who believe the same things, essentially, they want the same things. They want Medicare for All. They want free college tuition, things like that. But we butt heads continually. Yeah. So how do you advise people to deal with that?
I think for me, I experience a good deal of that myself. I think a lot of Bernie supporters get a little bit of that pushback. Any of us running for Congress, we get a little bit of that we're a Bernie bro type pushback.
Hero worshiper.
Yeah. But I think it's something that more conservative or moderate Democrats need to understand is, there was a lot of us supporting Bernie. And I think that a lot of times we just got pushed aside and kind of treated like a rascally little brother, like, oh, these ideas are great, but they're not realistic and they're not practical. And
pie in the sky.
Yeah. But I mean, after the election last year, all of a sudden Medicare for All became something that every single Democrat I know, we all want Medicare for All now. I mean, almost 50% of Republicans want Medicare for All. Medicare for All is the new going to be the new law of the land soon. And so I think as much as we were kind of discounted and told, or maybe our opinions aren't as valid, and maybe we didn't have a place in the party, we did change the narrative. We did change the things that people want, where universal health care if it really wasn't for Bernie Sanders, universal health care, I don't think would have been something that this many people would have been fighting for. And now we are. I mean, every senator that is looking to run for the presidency right now, they're all saying Medicare for all, Medicare for all. And if you don't say Medicare for all, people are kind of, Democrats across the board are now, I don't know about this. I don't know about this one. So
right.
I really think it's where progressives and, you know, let's say blue dog Democrats, there's so much common ground. Right now, we have somebody in the White House that I think poses an incredible danger to all of us, to all of our families. A lot of Republicans will even say, I know that this man is not fully sane and is a danger to me and my family. And I think a lot of us realize that, but what we have to do is come together and say, listen, there's a lot of things that make us different, but let's not let those things tear us apart. Let's just move forward in the same direction. We cannot afford at this point in time to fight amongst ourselves. We really all have to be all working towards a common goal. And, you know, a lot of us just have to say, you know, as much as I disagree with this or you disagree with this, we're all on the same team, and we just have to be a big, happy, fighting family. But we have to stay together.
Are you familiar with the term MMT? Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, as far as the weight of our money, right?
Right, modern monetary theory. That's something we talk about like a lot on here. We have a few live streamers who commit a lot of their live streaming time to talking about that. Is that something you ascribe to? Is it are you knowledgeable about it? What's your what's your knowledge on it at this point?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the system that is in place in every big modern country today. And so I think as much as like doing a deep dive into how we put weight behind money is something that before I would want to speak on, I have an economist on the team, a professor, and before he's watching along with us saying, you know, like, let me help you, you know, really put a concrete and really some thought into any questions around MMT. I guess what is, whenever you guys are talking about MMT, what are the concerns? What is the, are you guys wanting to move away from it? Are you wanting to move back into having currency created with being backed by gold? What are you guys, as far as with MMT, what's the narrative with your viewers, or what is the input from them? Because I would be curious to know.
Basically, what it comes down to is that MMT is taxes don't fund federal spending. And someone who actually talks about it continuously is Bernie's economic advisor from his campaign, who also speaks at the Sanders Institute. She teaches there. So basically, the easiest way to explain it, if federal taxes don't fund spending, that means when people say, we need to cut this so we can spend more on this, it's not applicable because they say there's a debt, yet we keep spending billions and millions and all that on other things, which means that we have the ability to keep going. We don't have that limitation. We don't have that debt. So essentially, it's more about basically just getting people to realize that we can have it all, lack of a better term. It's not something we need to limit ourselves to. But what I can do, if you'd like, is we have Dr. Joe, and sometimes he likes to send a few links after the interviews, just like the beginner links, of like a few minute video or what have you, just if you want to kind of learn like the basics, just to get an idea. But
okay,
yes,
I get what you're saying. Okay, so really, it's MMT, but almost like MMT expansion to where there is no debt. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's something that, are you familiar with, are there countries that the MMT, the level of MMT that you guys are looking at, is that something that other countries have in place currently, or is that something that we would be the first country to really go there?
It's a good question. What do you guys think? Are you guys familiar with if any other countries are I don't know if you see.
Because I mean, I've done research into MMT, but I've never, as far as I know, that as far as the currency we do create, it is backed, with bonds. It is backed. It's just I don't think you can. I don't know. I mean, I guess I would have to look into what other countries are doing in terms of MMT to really speak on that more in depth.
Yeah, somebody actually did mention Japan, but I guess the thing about MMT is like we're actually all using it already. People people just don't realize like the science behind it. But yeah, Dr. Joe can send you a link or two, and so I'll tell you, he's probably watching, but
because I know it's been in place since the 70s. It's just a matter of, if we already have MMT, then I guess what does that look like? Just having, I guess for me, looking at it as somebody who is moderately fiscally conservative, right? I mean, I'm progressive as anyone as you'll ever meet, but I do think that there are ways that we can do things that are fiscally responsible. As far as MMT, the way we have everything set up now, I think there is some sort of checks and balances. So it's just it couldn't be unlimited, right? So yeah.
Well, I think it's, who think that they can, well, we have to cut this so that we can, we have to cut, food stamps so we can give Medicaid or things like that. And basically the point why we talk about it a lot is because they don't have to cut one to do another. So it's important for, people to understand that they, people say, I'll pay more taxes if it means such and such, but they don't have to. So it's more about educating. It is, a lot of it's in place. There's just a lot of misinformation. But let me see. I'm just reading the comments.
No, I mean, it's certainly something that I think, where I've done, deep research into MMT, currency, everything is in regards to the economy. I've never really looked into the concept of just an unlimited amount of tax dollar, not even really tax dollars, but an unlimited amount of revenue we could spend. For me, thinking from an economic standpoint, I just feel like that is perhaps a slippery slope, but maybe I just need to do some additional research into which countries, have implemented MMT, but then also have expanded to where there is no budget. It's just, an unlimited amount of money. I don't know. I guess it's a concept I don't think a lot of politicians have done deep research into, but I certainly
That's
will.
Very accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I certainly will look into it, just because it's if this is something that your viewers specifically are passionate about, I'm glad that for you guys to bring it to my attention for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll have Dr. Joe send you a video and an article. What is your platform, just to sum it up? I know I saw things with Medicare for all, college tuition, immigration reform. What are your main focuses? I know you said the first thing you want to work on, but what else is very important to you?
Yeah, so my top priorities are protecting education, expanding healthcare and making sure healthcare, mental health care, all healthcare is available to all Americans, and then eliminating corruption. Those are my top three. Obviously, like I said before, I'm incredibly interested in also helping veterans and really anybody in this district that needs someone to have their back, right? I'm a single mom myself. I know what it feels like to be unrepresented, and to have representatives that don't understand the things I've gone through or am going through. And so I think really just anybody, really representing anybody who feels unrepresented right now. And there's a lot of us, right? I think minorities don't feel represented adequately. The LGBT community doesn't feel represented. I know as a single mom or a single parent household, I don't feel represented. And so my priorities are really all around the people that need me the most. And so I think improving our healthcare system would help out a lot of people, making education available to everyone at either an affordable cost, or I really want to make a big push to free 2-year university first, and then after that to 4-year. But I also think that we need to make sure that our 4-year degrees have a lot more weight than they do now. I think a lot of people are getting out of a 4-year university with a lot of debt, and then they're not really able to get the jobs that they had expected. And so I think just really making a big push into also expanding vocational training, just really making sure that people are set up to make money to pay for their families. So increasing the minimum wage is involved in that as well. And so helping the people in my district make money, making sure that they're healthy, and getting rid of all the representatives that are corrupt, or putting things in place to make sure that they cannot become corrupt.
Absolutely. So if there's one thing you want to leave the viewers with, your, one final thought to give them, why they should look more into you, why they should consider voting for you or promoting you, what would you leave this interview with as your statement?
Yeah, I think really at the end of the day, the thing that I need or would like for anybody to know about me is, I'm a single mom that decided to run for office a year ago. And I think that there are a lot of people like me that have good hearts, and they know politics like the back of their hand, and they just keep that frustration and they keep that knowledge, and really they should be running for office, or they should be involved in a campaign. They should be, instead of getting in a fight with their racist uncle on Facebook, they should take that passion and they should help a campaign. They should help a campaign in social media, or take their strengths and put those strengths to work in a campaign. I really think more good people, more well-meaning people need to run for office. Before I ran, I had no idea how to run for office. I mean, zero. And people can sense in me very quickly that I have nothing to gain from this other than just creating a better world for my daughter and everyone else's kids. And so I think if anybody could take anything from this, I would just say, if you have even the slightest interest in running, you should run for office yourself, or put that knowledge to use within a campaign, because there's a lot of candidates that need a lot of help right now, because where I'll never be able to outspend the incumbent I'm running against, I can outwork him, and I do outwork him. And I think the more people power I have, the more likely that is to happen. So, if anybody had to have a takeaway, I would just say, feel free to get involved with my campaign or any other campaign in your area, because these candidates need you, and one volunteer could make or break an election.
That's very true. Do you want to give your website, your Twitter, your Facebook, all that stuff?
Yeah. So let me see if I can find how my name. Yeah. So it's linseyfagen.com, linseyfagan.com. And then my Twitter is @LinseyFagenTX. And my Facebook is /LinseyFagenTX. Instagram, Linsey Fagen TX. So, we could use all the help we can get. We have a lot of really motivated volunteers that have gotten me to where I am today. We've been really, really lucky. And I think, good people can identify good people pretty quickly. And so we've been pretty lucky to find a lot of good volunteers that are just wanting to fix the country on their own.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Linsey. We appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. As always, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern. I've got some other amazing candidates on the next few weeks already booked. So thank you guys for watching as always. And thank you again, Linsey. We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Take care.
Thank you so much. Bye, guys.